What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty alright.
Okay, I like to hear that. Is it raining over there where you're at?
It was raining like a couple minutes ago, but it passed over.
Oh, okay. That's good to hear. Mm. Let's see here. I'm gonna go ahead and share screen here, and get entire screen. All right, so I got that sharing. And then I did actually figure out a way to actually share screen also from my Switch, um, as well if we needed something for that.
Okay. Yeah,
Alrighty.
so you said like something was just like going on with your capture card.
Yeah, I left it at one of the pretty sure I left it at one of the weeklies. I just haven't noticed because I haven't done too many coaching sessions in between then. So yeah, I'm probably just gonna have to grab it the next time that I'm at one of the weeklies here. Alrighty. Um, but you're able to see the screen just fine right now.
Yeah, screen's looking good.
Okay. All right. Well, looks like these were kind of the topics that you wanted to go over. Was like, summed down. It's like basically kind of feeling the differences between friendlies and bracket, because like you notice that your play in friendlies was a lot more solid than it is in bracket, and also just kind of come up with like a pre-tourney plan, just like things that you would actually do to prepare yourself beforehand and to keep you, in the moment at your best.
Cause like, yeah, the reason why I was asking that is because like I've noticed that there was like I think there's like a direct correlation between like how I'm doing in friendlies and bracket, and even like the prep, like playing a big factor in as well. 'Cause, like as I was talking about, like some of my issues with like playing in a moment, I feel I'm more susceptible when I'm like not like in like the right headspace, be it if I'm like, slightly hungry, or in my experience, like one big thing, sometimes I'll eat like some like like junky food, or like just some unhealthy stuff, and then as soon as I go in the bracket, like I'll be like more like headachy and like not feeling my best, and it definitely affects my play.
Okay, chunky like it's just got a lot into it basically.
Yeah, so like a recent example, so we brought back NWI, we brought back our BG's tournament or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's like a local food place. I was like, man, I'm so hungry. Let's get some hot dogs and fries. And I was like, oh man. As soon as I started playing, I was like, oh dude, I regret that.
Oh no, I was about to say not the
But
hot
like
dogs and
stuff
fry
along.
combo.
Oh dude, like it was so delicious. But I'm like, oh bro, I shouldn't have done that.
No, I get it. I was about to say I would have probably went to sleep after I had got like a nice meal like that.
Oh for sure.
Let's see.
And like I've kind of been like working on like a means to like prepare before like health wise before tournaments, but like I don't have like anything concrete, and I'm not always like the best at following it.
Okay, that's cool. I was about to say I think combining things together we can probably come up with something for that should be able to work out here in
Yeah,
that regards.
definitely.
Oh, and then I do remember looking back at it or thinking about it that I wanted to also talk a little bit, if we can, about you know just what you've been like seeing in tournaments and stuff recently as well. So
Yeah, honestly, like that's just like something that I feel like would be good to talk about as well. Just have another person to help like reflect on my thoughts.
okay, yeah, I'm down for that. It's a good thing that you bring that up because we we can save that for later because I got a little section for like just review from our last one. Um, well, how would you want to do it? Is there a certain topic out of the three that you want to go through right now? Like, because it sounds like you want to save this like the open discussion like for later, as after we get through the first two. So is there one of those two that you want to start with right now then?
Honestly, I wouldn't mind doing the review first.
Okay, cool. Then yeah, we can chat here for like, good maybe 15, 30 minutes about some stuff, however long. But yeah, for first with the review, I was just kind of seeing how, these kind of things were coming along from the last session. Because basically, it was boiled down to, I think, these four topics, like applying actual threats first before applying feints, asking questions before any tournament said, like trying to get more better like spacing around shields, and like giving reason to like your choices, based on like how the opponent is. So you can start anywhere with any of those, like with how you're feeling about them.
Okay. So I guess starting off with like the actual threat before feints. Sometimes when I'm playing, I do try to be conscious. Like let's say, like of course, like a big mix up with like jokers. Like, all right, am I gonna like fast fall empty land, or am I gonna like land with an aerial?
Mm-hmm.
Typically, I do try to be more conscious. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna show them the aerial first before I start like trying to get empty landings in. Like unless like I just have played against that player before, I have some indication that they'll do a certain thing. But going into like a new match, I'm like, all right, well, I, if I just end up like doing like a empty land or something, and they're just expecting me to like do an aerial, they're just gonna like hit me. But if I show them the aerial, then that's where the mix up comes. So like I definitely say I've been trying to apply that a little bit more. Just like when in doubt, going into a cassette, I just try to show them the option first, and then go to mix up from there and see how they're responding to it.
Okay. Um, in oftentimes, so like I guess like an example, like what's something specific that like you've been seeing, like people kind of do, say like you show the option first, like you're showing like say back air for example.
Yeah, so definitely a very common thing I'll see is like shield. That's where like, which is good because it goes into the empty lands and mixing up from there, landing grab and whatnot. And another similar thing, we can address this guy later, but a long story short, just it started off as for fun, but now just like on the side I've been playing Ike too, just as
Mm-hmm.
like he's not my main. He's just gonna be like for a few like matchups. Like I kind of just enjoy playing him, and just I feel like he gets the job done easier. Of course, like Ike's big thing is like Nair, and
Mm-hmm.
low key playing Ike kind of helped me like transfers to Joker as well. Just how people will play around like Ike's big Nair, and like you want to show it to him first before you start like doing the empty land grab. That's kind of like a thing I like about Ike that is kind of similar to Joker. They have their like big like full hop pressure, and then they get like a lot of grab reward off of like an empty land
Okay.
or whatnot.
Yeah, that's pretty
And
cool.
yeah, it's just
No, go ahead.
looking at what they're doing and kind of going from there. But yeah, it does start just like saying, all right, I'm gonna do this good option, and then what do you have to do about it?
Okay, yeah, I like that experience there, like using, especially like you're able to transfer, like playing Ike, like transfer that info over to Joker, and be able to apply it there, like playing around his Nair and seeing what they do. And especially when you came like to that concept of like has been helping with Joker, his Nair, and because it helps you, it has been helping you like understand like forcing good option on someone until they do something about it.
Exactly.
Understand forcing good option, do something. Um, and that's I think is the biggest thing. Like, some people fall into the trap of is that like once they punish someone with something, I think we talked about it like in the last session too, but just briefly, once someone punishes someone for something, they're already expecting them to adapt because giving them they're giving them too much. Either giving them credit because like, oh, they're a good player, like they make top eights, or oh, they're a PGR player, or like they're a really good player. So of course, after I punish them this one time, they're going to adapt. When maybe on a normal day they are, but for some reason today they may not be. So it's always nice to just always challenge them each time until they actually change, like stop you from using that option to see like if you're in the right mindset or if you can just turn your brain off too and just keep mashing it.
Yeah, and like I've definitely been trying to like take that to heart as well, and I've noticed it in like my tournament sets as well. Like, let's say someone like jumps from ledge a lot,
Yep.
like I'll just keep hammering them with jump from ledge, and I try to save it for like ideally in situations where it could like land like a really strong like punish or a kill or to set up a good situation, and then like I'll just kind of like keep it in my back pocket, just all right, if I need to hit him with this, or like at a crucial moment, I'll try to hit him with that, or even like in some instances, I was like, all right, if you're just gonna keep jumping, I'll literally just keep hitting you until you don't feel comfortable to jump, and then once you're not comfortable jumping, then I can just have a better read on what you're gonna do. Like maybe you're gonna start just doing neutral get up and roll. It's like stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because
And
that's
yeah, like historically in the past, I've definitely given people too much credit with that.
hey, I was about to say it happens to everyone. It still happens with me too whenever I'm playing. So there's no harm there.
Oh, dude, there's probably stuff that people like repeatedly punish me for that I'm not even aware of. Like,
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Feel more conscious about using aerials first. So yeah, that sounds like that's been a good experience there. There with talking about applying threats first and everything. So what about anything else that you kind of wanted to add about that one, or?
I guess I guess like another like specific like topic recently that I've noticed is that sometimes in my play, and then this kind of goes into the tournament versus friendlies thing, I
Mm-hmm.
play like a lot. I try to play like a lot more passive, just because I feel like uncertain at times, and I think that leads to like passivity, and I think as a symptom, like it leads to me just like not wanting to like force my good options, and I'm just like, oh, I'm just gonna play non-committal and passive and so on and so forth. But if I'm doing that, I'm not necessarily like playing to my win condition, and that could be detrimental
Oh
unless
right.
like the person I'm dealing with is just running into me for free. But yeah, passive play in brackets sometimes has been like pretty detrimental to me, and I think that is a result to like how I'm feeling going into it some days.
Okay. Um. Well, you can, as well say, we can go ahead and I guess just branch into that first topic then about friendlies versus tournaments since we're talking about it a bit, and then come back over to like open session and reviewing.
That
Um.
sounds like a good idea.
All right. So basically, let's see. So asking kind of like this first question here, then, what would you say is like the most important difference between like friendlies and tournament?
So of course, friendlies are something that is just used to practice. Like even doing tournaments are practice as well, but generally, like as a competitor, you wanna give it your all in tournament and see what you can do, make it as far as you can, ideally.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in friendlies, it's like at the end of the day, like it doesn't really matter too much. You say like, oh, during the session, I want to work on my ledge trap or stuff like that. So there's not really any like consequence to losing in friendlies.
Okay. No consequences. Okay. So what you say is most supported? All right. Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement there. It's like friendlies. Basically, it's mainly should be used more for practice and like there's no consequences, and that's basically the point I was going to bring up too. Is that there's no pressure when you're performing because of like these things that you kind of named as well. Like doesn't matter if you win or lose because nothing's on the line. Because yeah, you basically pointed that out. Um, you're free. Um, you're free to also kind of adding on to it. Like you're free to play at your own pace compared to like a schedule of a tournament and things like that. Because if it's just a friendly or whatever, and you're just chilling with like a couple guys just playing or something, you could be just playing a friendly, then like you have a pizza in the oven, and then like oh pizza's done, so you just pause the match for a moment, and they're just chilling, they're just chatting and stuff, just kind of carefree. You grab the pizza out, just let it cool off, then you come back into the match. And if you do that in a tournament, I DQ you.
I get what you're saying. Just like it's just a lot more. It's just like a lot more like stress free almost.
Yeah, basically. Um, so yeah, so can just chat. Can even make a pizza. Let's change that. Instead of make pizza, you can get the. You can even get those good fries and hot dogs from that place you went to.
Oh,
Yep. So you can just go ahead and just pause, like, or like just finish the match, go out, grab that, and then come back and play some more. Maybe even eat before or after you do that. You can't do that really in tournament because they're respecting your time, like everyone's time, by trying to be on like finish the tournament at a reasonable time for everyone, and keep it scheduled so that way they can all enjoy everything that's going on. Um,
yeah, exactly. Like you're not just gonna hold up a bracket just because someone's eating lunch. Like,
mm-hmm. Now sometimes they'll be like I'll be more considerate for people if they have not gone like out to eat, like younger kids, because like they're not the best with time management yet. So I'll be a little more understanding, but at the same time, probably only give them say like maybe five, like if they had just came back with food, like maybe 5 minutes, just like eat a little bit of it, and then like 5-10 minutes, and then just get into the match. Um, and then the other point that I have up there is like outside factors that affect you like less, like outside factors affect you less compared to a tournament. So that goes into more of like people talking behind you, cheering, technical issues and things like that. When you're trying to focus in tournament, these kind of things would probably bother you a lot more because you're trying to actually focus and trying to actually get like win, like place high to actually get into the cash prize. Uh,
yeah, because if yeah,
mm-hmm.
generally if there's like a lot of like background noise, like sometimes I am prone to like I'll be in the middle of like a tournament set and I'll just like overhear like some people's conversation and I'll kind of get like zoned out on it and I'll like
Right.
it'll just be like a distraction.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So perfect example right there with that. Um, So, because of this, people tend to do better. So, from what I understand, like people tend to do better in friendlies and consider how they play in friendlies to be their actual skill level. Which, honestly, that could be the case. Um, However, whenever they do bad at a tournament, they disregard it as a bad day and they say they'll just be in better shape next time, which can be true, but then they're just basically ignoring what happened that day to make it a bad day. So, for example, when you talked about like, you went to a tournament or something, you know, you got food there, you ate food and everything. You gave a good reason for like, saying that. Oh, okay, so I did pretty well. My stomach was upset because I ate this kind of food. So maybe next time. That's why we have the other topic. We're going to work on like pre-tourney prep. So that might be something we'll throw in. There's like maybe when to eat or like what to actually eat beforehand that won't upset you. Um, Now, if we flip that around to someone who doesn't think about that and they're like over, I won't say overvaluing their friendly like skill level, but just like only considering it, they'll just think they won't even think about the fact that their stomach was upset. They'll just think, oh, I did bad today, I'm going to do better next time, and then they eat the same meal and they get the stomach ache, and then they do bad, and then they'll just repeat that cycle, and they won't understand why they're not doing any better. Besides just saying, well, I do so much better in friendlies.
You know, I definitely see where you're coming from, and I think of course like with like even when you are evaluating factors like even on a day where like you get like bad sleep or you have like an upset stomach, like you still have to hold yourself responsible and still recognize like okay, in these situations where I am not like physically or mentally at my best, like what am I still doing in the game that's like causing me to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And there's still stuff to like recognize from it, and even on a like a good day, there still might be some overlap. It just could be like you'd be more prone to like a certain habit or just like a tendency when you're not feeling 100%.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to so you have to like still look at those factors after you've cooled off from like the tournament and everything, just to see if there is things that you can actually control versus if there is things that you couldn't control. And now we have a perfect example of something like this, honestly, with the recent things with Leo and Zamba. Have you been have you kind of heard about that, been seeing a little bit of it like over the past few months?
I know there was like a little bit of like trash talk from like
Mm-hmm.
both ends, but I didn't know like too much beyond that.
Yeah, I mean
And I
it's
know like Zombo was like beating Leo recently too.
yeah, it's essentially that. Like I'm sure between the two of them, it's just playful banter and things like that. But like for someone on the outside, it can be like a perfect example of like this exact topic. So I just had it like written down here. So Leo versus Zamba recently, after Battle of BC, Leo put out this tweet that I have linked here. It's like, you know, if I play good, there's no chance you're gonna beat me. Like, but good stuff. So that's him thinking about like his previous success in tournaments and
Which I
in
mean, yeah,
friendlies.
that's like you can tell it's like a backhanded like compliment too, and
Yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, dude, I'll beat you. I just wasn't feeling my best. Yeah.
right. He's still getting little props and stuff. It's just a little banter, but yeah, that's basically what it is there. So then, okay, well, next tournament, big tournament that rolls around, they play each other. It is in either winners or losers over at Crown. I think Zamba knocked him out of losers. Um, then Zamba basically clowns on him for it, and then I think this last tweet happened recently. Like Leo's kind of reflecting on his losses. He's acknowledging that Zamba and Jackal have gotten better, and he's just been lacking in practice. And this isn't just my words. Like we can literally click on these tweets, and just show it that like this is basically what's going on between them. Um, so for me personally, I think that how you kind of play in bracket is like the difference between the two is like how you play in bracket is your actual skill level currently, because it's showing you how you actually play when there's something on the line to lose, and what's like basically stopping you from actually reaching that level that you have when you're in friendlies or when there's no stress or anything. So money, pride, status, anything that pushes your ego, kind of things. Um, those are just some of the like basically the things that would actually push you to actually have some stress on yourself.
If you look at like any other sport, like they don't say, oh, how I do in practice. They say how I'm doing in like an actual game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or it's like, or if you're like a boxer, it's like, oh, not how I do really good in sparring, but in an actual fight, like I don't do as good. So yeah, that's definitely very true. And I think at the end, like your results do matter. There's a lot of like outside factors that can like control your bracket performance, but at the end of the day, you still have to hold yourself accountable and recognize that if someone's winning in bracket, they're probably means they're a pretty good player.
Mm-hmm. And they must be doing something different from you that you can maybe learn from them. So that's a good opportunity to grow from that by maybe chatting with them after a tourney.
Oh, definitely.
Uh, so the basically the best way that I can tell, like that I can say like you can just easily remember like the difference between friendlies and tournament is just this bolded word here, that like your tourney play is just basically tells you how close you are to reaching your flow, just like it is in friendlies. And yeah, you won't always be at playing at 100%, but if you at least know like what factors are affecting it, and knowing like if it's again like if it's stuff that you can actually stop yourself, or things that you can just bring up to other people that are like out of your control and maybe help change, then that might actually help out. So like finding ways to actually practice under pressure a little bit more, like when it's just friendly. So like doing money matches, or maybe you just need to go to more tournaments. That way, if it's tournament nerves, you can actually get rid of them by just going to as many in order to play underneath them. And then, like other things, if you need to watch VODs, things you can control, like sleeping, eating, which we'll talk about more, and then also things you can't control, but you can bring to a TO's attention, like the layouts of setups and stuff. Whatever that smokescreen stuff was at Konami Saga for ESAM. Yeah,
Well,
that was not a good time for him. so yeah, I'll leave a resource up for that too that I think you might actually like. It's from a I'm not sure how much you play Strive, but it's I was about to say a very good fighting game player that a lot of people that does a lot of things based on mentality. So besides that video, I'm sure there'll be a lot of other things that you can look into from her content.
okay, yeah, I'm also like familiar with Strive too, so it wouldn't be just a weird thing I couldn't understand.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, that's kind of my take on like friendlies and tournaments there. But is there kind of more that you want to either add on to it or like kind of questions about that?
So in regards to I really agree with like the money match example because like historically like whenever I do a money match it's like I just feel like really like amped up and I feel like I always like play my best going into them. Like it's weird. It's like the combination of it's like the middle ground between bracket and friendlies. It's like I'm trying my best to win, but at the end of the day, like I'm not tripping if I lose. Typically money match is like $5. So if I lose $5, I'm not gonna be upset about it, and I'm just because typically you do the money matches to like fight like a good like high level player,
Yep.
and I'm just kind of excited to say like let's do my best. I know they're not gonna be trying to lose money. So I mean, I'm gonna be getting them at their best too. So I just get like really excited to play that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like in bracket, it's like if I that's actually another thing. So like in bracket in general, I feel more calm against like really good players than I do against like players of like an equal or lower skill level, or perceived equal or lower skill level.
Hmm. Do you kind of have like maybe like a reason behind like why you think that might be, or?
I feel like it does have like some part in ego, and in general like I feel like if I'm playing against like someone good like in like my recent like South Bend tournaments like I always really love playing against Sunny, and like I feel like I perform like pretty well to like my standards against him. It's just like I'm always excited to play him and I always feel like I'm like really energized when I'm doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and like possibly because it's like all right realistically like I'm not like going into I'm not expecting to like catch an easy dub and like maybe like the stress of that is like gone, so I'm just like all right I'm just gonna play my best, let's see what happens.
Okay.
Versus like other players of like I said similar level or perceived lower level, like I'm almost like okay, so I probably should be winning this, I shouldn't mess up.
Players versus. Okay. So if I'm I was about to say, I'll just write these notes real quick. So it so basically against the top player you're kind of like more excited, you said, like to play them, just like kind of see like how your skill, how you actually would match up with them, because it'll be a good match against them. Or like
Exactly.
yeah, so like you'll feel like you'll be able to have a good match against them. So top player. Excited to play. Because you feel like you can learn from them, be good match, see like adaptations from it. Because like going back to what we were talking about before, like against those players, like you'll expect them to like adapt when you're doing things. Like you can probably expect that they're going to adapt to something, and then like when you call out that they're going to adapt at this time and you respond with the right answer, like it feels pretty good because you're doing this, because it feels like you're playing playing a really good game. And then,
Generally, like, yeah, when you're playing against those better players, like, of course they're not perfect, but you're gonna see a lot more instances where they're making those adjustments, and you have to like think on your feet to adjust what they're doing.
mm-hmm. Yep, and that's usually why like a lot of us, besides like doing cool things, like why a lot of people like getting into games is they see, the top level play. They see all these different like these unique interactions, and that they're just adjusting like to each other. You're like, I want to play, just like that. I want to be on the big screen just like that against like against Leo, against like all these other top players. Um,
Yeah, and like in general, and like recently, I feel like I also put this. I think I put this like on our session notes. I've also been just having like a. I've mostly just been pretty tame about like my desires for the game, but like lately, I've been like having a desire to like really like start having like better performances and becoming like just like overall a lot better. Like I still care about like the improvement aspect. Like I'm always just trying to get better,
mm-hmm.
but I'm kind of also kind of wanting to see like the fruits of my work, if you know what I mean. So I'm not like live or die by my tournament results, but like I am starting to find myself like caring more about how I perform now,
Okay.
which honestly I think isn't a bad thing. Like before, I feel like I've almost gotten like complacent, and I feel like now that I'm starting to care more about it, it's motivating me a bit.
I was about to say, yeah, that's fair. Putting in the work, so you want to see like the results from it and everything with that too. Um, so I can understand like wanting to actually see like maybe the results from it to see like, okay, all this hard work is paying off and kind of things of that nature. Um, so we can definitely touch on that like in like kind of definitely touch on that like a little bit here soon. But I just wanted to really just quickly cover this topic of like playing against top players versus equal low level players. Um,
Mhm.
so like with the low level players, you said that for them, could you like kind of go through it again?
Yeah, so like in general, like if I'm fighting like a top player, like I feel like I don't have much to like if I do lose, but if it's like the table will turn and like I feel like I'm in a position where I'm the person to beat, or even just like I'm facing someone who like is probably we're roughly equal in skill. I feel like I have a lot like winning becomes like a lot more important in those situations.
Okay, so yeah, feeling bad going into it. Feel you have a lot more to lose from it, kind of thing. And you said, I think when you said that before, you said that you felt like it was kind of an ego thing. I think.
Yeah, admittedly, like at times it can be like an ego thing too.
Mm-hmm.
Like it,
Um.
I wouldn't like describe it as like, oh no, this guy sucks, I can't lose to him. But it's like, all right, like I feel like I'm in a position where like, I should be winning here. So like I probably shouldn't try to choke this. And then if bad things start happening, like my brain can sometimes go into like a panic mode.
Yeah.
This is prone on like it's more prone on days where I'm like not feeling the best too. It could like bleed into my mentality. But even on like good days, I'm like, okay, if I start getting like messed up, like all right, my nerves will kind of get there, and like I don't feel like terrible playing like nervous, but there's definitely a huge preference like when I'm playing calm over when like my heart's racing a bit, and like straight up like as I was kind of alluding to with like saying like the top player thing versus like the equal to lower is like
Yeah.
if I'm facing like a really good player, my heart's not going to be racing. Like even if it's close, not nearly as much compared to like if I'm facing like if I'm having a close set against someone who I think I can beat.
Right, because it kind of flips that role of like how you feel against the lower level players. Like you're to the top player, you're kind of the equal lower level player. So like it's kind of more onus on them to beat them. It's just the same thing like with say like it's someone with equal skill level, like not equal skill level, but like well, I guess equal skill level, but like say like you're playing a top tier character against like someone who's playing a low tier. Most people would say like, oh, okay, so I should be beating this person, but like the person's really good as the low tier, and like now, like usually they have on their side the crowd because like this person playing this low tier, it's never been seen too much. They're doing pretty well, and so the crowd's on their side. So now it's on you to kind of silence the crowd by showing them why this is supposed to be a bad character. But you get more nervous because like they're doing pretty well.
Yeah, because then you like ask yourself like, man, am I really gonna get like bodied by Ganondorf?
Yeah, exactly that. So that the kind of thing that you're talking about here, which I'm going to actually link two very good videos from the same person. Her name's Deb for Strive. They basically explain this system that you're talking about, which they call it the spite system. So what the spite system is basically is that most people like we said before, when most people get into like fighting games and things like that, they're wanting to actually do it kind of like more for like the status, the fame, and everything of like getting being on big screen, everything along those lines, winning money and everything, which is all good. So once they get complacent, instead of striving to just keep improving, this is where the spite system comes in, where what happens is they essentially they will decide that against what you're saying, against top players, they will respect, well, actually they will like over respect them because they want them to actually look at them as a good player. Want them to look at them as a good player. So what happens for that is, so like they it's the example I think Deb goes through, but like basically someone like the top player like whiff punishes you and stuff like that. Like they whiff punish you like in the most ridiculous way possible, and like it's just so crazy like how they whiff punish you. And like you note it down because like if the top player punished me that way, then that must mean that that's something that I need to work on. It's like whiff punishes, learn to whiff punish. And then against a low level or equal level, they will not respect them because they think it's just simply that they think they are a bad player. So they cannot learn from them. That's the big part at the end. They feel because they're a bad player, they cannot learn from them, like, at all. Even if this same situation before, like, low-level player whiff punishes them, instead of, like, looking at, I need to learn how to deal with the whiff punish, they'll just look at it as, like, this person got lucky. They decide, it's about to say, oh, it's because their character is so stupid, it's so broken. Like, they just start coming up with excuses because of, like, them being a low-level player. Because they feel attacked by, their status. They feel like it's attacked, like, against this low-level player if they actually lose to it. To the point that some people will just outright, not play as often if they don't get the chance to play against top-level players, just to keep their ego intact.
Definitely see that. Yeah, in regards to how you respond to like different things, like when we went to the Atlanta trip in MomoCon, I actually in my round 2 I fought Jazo, the Ken player, and it was a different world compared to anything I fought before. when I say just him running back and forth put the fear of God into you, you do not understand. And like I got kind of rolled, but I was like, that that was an experience. I was completely content with it. But yeah, against like other things, I'm like, yeah, it can be kind of like frustrating if like let's say like that whiff punish against like someone who like I feel like quote unquote not as good. I'm like, oh man, dude, that sucks. But yeah, like you definitely have to. I think just like having respect for them as well, and realizing that they still can exploit your things, even if it's not as good as a top player. Like there still could be overlap. So like top player might get like an insane punish, but a lower level player might still pick up on something and still land a punish nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you should be. Well, it's about to say you should be respecting them just like you're respecting the top level player. Um, now maybe not over respect. Like you honestly shouldn't be over respecting either one, but like you should at least give them the respect that you have been giving to the top player, because if they can punish you, if someone who can punish you that you consider a low level player, like with this whip punish for example, then obviously that means that at the top level, not only are they going to whip punish you, but like I said before, they'll whip punish you and they'll kill you off of it instead of just hit you.
And thinking on it now, I'm like when I'm playing against sometimes when I'm playing against even like lower equal level players, like I'd almost over respect them because like I have the fear of like if I mess up, I'll end up like losing and then like losing a lot of momentum and then getting like anxious from that. So
Mm.
like I think even in situations like that, I actually play like more nervous than I would play against like a good player.
So feel sometimes you're anxious. It's level and over respect. Okay, so yeah, we can add that on there too. And that I was about to say. So then against like a top player, then you want to feel that anxious, like um, basically you just played normally from there, like that.
Yeah, like yeah, I wouldn't really feel like too much anxiety. I would just kind of like feel like the thrill of it, and just usually like historically whenever I'm playing and like I feel like really excited, that's like when I'm always the best and I get like that flow state. And yeah, against like top level players, I'm just thinking, oh, this is just like gonna be a good opportunity. I could try my best. Make it a good set. If I somehow pull off the win, like that's cool. But if not, like I'm not gonna beat myself up over it.
Hmm. Okay. Then yeah, the kind of solution basically for that is instead of, because it's like basically you're punching down against someone, and you're always like punching up against top players. Yeah, again, just do the same thing to the lower level players. Just like treat them the same, like of being. I need to go into this kind of carefully, kind of like what you, um, kind of like with the top player. Just treat it both players the same, and just going into it like that you can learn basically from each one, each groups of players. Because if you can kind of get that into your mind, basically, they'll actually be able to, keep you going on the path of like improvement. Um, because otherwise, once you get stuck in the spite system, you're basically not going to improve. As the video, when I link the video, like it'll actually explain that a lot well. But like basically, it will actually, the way that we mainly improve from each other is that like we learn kind of like in a hierarchy system. It's like top level players learn like the here's the top level players, the high level players learn from the top level players, mid level, low level players learn from the high level players and up, and then new players they learn directly from like mid low level players. And then if you're like the quote unquote top representative like in your area, and you're not really like wanting to actually play with the other players around you, and like you have like kind of that's kind of like how you feel against other people with kind of punching down. That's the low level players are going to punch down against like new players, and then they're not going to be able to learn anything at all. um,
That makes a lot of sense actually. And yeah, I've heard instances like I think recently I believe Wolfie, he comes from Purdue, and
Mm-hmm.
recently he's just been going to other tournaments because he's just like he just needs like that higher level competition to like test him. Like that's what I heard.
And I mean that's fair. That's fair for him as well too. If he, we don't know like the entire situation of maybe he does play with everyone regularly there. And he just ventures out a little bit more because he needs that since because I've been seeing that he's been going out to different regions and everything too and been competing and has been doing pretty well out there as well. Um, but yeah, if that quote unquote is the case that like he's if like someone is doing that in their region where like they're just playing against the top level players and then they're not like spending time playing against the low everyone else around them like every once in a while they'll do the same things and then that just basically tears up the community from that point of like wanting to practice. um
Yeah, yeah, because like I feel like everybody needs to have like the player in like the upper tier like available to them. Like ideally, like the mid levels need to be able to play with the high levels and so on.
right, it's not. And the other thing I'll say is like it's not like that. I'm sure you agree with this too. Like it's not on the top level player to make themselves present for everyone because after all they're trying to play good people so they can improve too. But it's just like it's how do I say it? It's not like on them to help every single individual person like level up or anything. Um, they're free to like not like share info or not share info. It's just as long as they understand what happens when you don't share, like when you're not willing to share or not willing to practice with kind of low level players that like what impact it does. And then it'll just turn into a scene where basically you have like a bunch of it's basically stagnant because like you get go to tournaments where like it's just mainly very top heavy and then like you have like um like top heavy players and like not too many like new people keep coming because like it's not really much community base. It's just the top level players just looking for other top level players to play. um and again that's just nothing wrong with the top level player wanting to do that, but like that's usually what the outcome is, so they have to be so they can't complain about that outcome. Basically is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. And like something I was thinking about is like if you want to gain the attention of these higher level players, like a mid level player, kind of like continue to get better, and then maybe you'll like start getting some more results, and you'll show them like, hey, oh, maybe there's something up with this guy. Maybe we should like, maybe I should try to get some games in with him, see what he's like been learning and stuff to make like this jump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then that way you won't have to actually travel around as much, and save yourself some money that way. You can be able to basically doing that. You raise your community up to your level, so that way you have access constantly to lots of good players to actually play against instead of like having to travel, you know, 2-3 hours just go play against like someone in tournament for just that one day.
Yeah, and that's the thing I respect a lot about like South Bend is like I've just noticed that like even like almost like the whole scene in general is just like improved like greatly, and I feel like that's like symptomatic of like that the top South Bend guys like regularly going to locals and stuff and like offering the opportunity to like play with all these people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been a good thing that they've been doing. You know, even a lot like having the opportunity to go play around with everyone at the tournaments and um, because I think like they saw like that was kind of like how they were before then too. Like probably previously, the top players like I think the top players like when the Ultimate started were roughly the same, but I'd say like probably like maybe from Smash Four with some of our older players from then they kind of saw that similar thing where they played against them like myself, Abizi, Skater J, um, Falco Gal, um, let's see, like a couple other guys like that, Nikki or Drugi, that they we played with them, and then they wanted to actually like do the same thing for the low for like the newer players that came in. So that's how we just kind of fix it. Is just kind of treat each one with respect, so that way we can always just like understand and learn from each other.
It's like a food chain almost.
Mm-hmm. You always start at the bottom of the food chain until you work yourself up, but never forget that that's where you started with. Okay, but I think that kind of answers like that. Playing against better players and like playing against lower level players. Did you have like any other questions on that?
No, I think we got a lot, and I definitely want to check out those videos too.
Okay, sweet. I'll make sure to link those in as well.
And
Um,
really quick, before we get into the next segment, I just gotta run to the bathroom really quick. I'll be quick.
yeah, no problem. Let's see.
BRB.
Let's see if I can clean this up.
And I'm back.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and try and move into like the tourney like regiment like real quick. Try and get that out the way, and then see if we have any time for like any other like review and things of that nature.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. So, what I'm thinking for this is kind of like more of like just us working together to like make some, like put something together. Um, with like a couple categories here of like things health wise, warm ups, friendlies, and that nature.
Yeah,
So
because I think like having something like tangible to look at, like I have like an idea of like what I could be doing, but I think having like a tangible thing to look at could like help keep me like more accountable to stay committed to it.
yeah, and I agree with you there with that. Because what we're trying to do with it, as the bullet points are saying, is like just making something like a proper schedule that you can consistently do. It's specific about what you do in the schedule, and like and you're using the proper tools or methods to set success up for you. Um, so I guess we'll just write down. Well, actually, if you want to look at this question here, are you able to read it here, like the pre-tournament regiment?
So you want me to just kind of like go through roughly what I have right now?
Yeah, like if you want to just think about it for a moment, because I'm actually about to go grab some water real quick. So yeah, just kind of think
Oh yeah,
about
you're
just kind of think about some things that you already are working on, or like that you're trying to want to actually improve on, and maybe what has been difficult about them, and then we can just talk about it through here and start with the regiment.
okay. Sounds good.
All right, I'll be right back. right, I'm back.
So I've definitely thought on this over a bit, and I got some I think I got some good insight. So in regards to like I'm just gonna I guess like address like every single thing and go down from there.
Mm-hmm.
So in regards to health, one of the things I definitely feel I do a good job at is sleep. Like I'm usually if I know I'm gonna have a bracket like the next day, I'm gonna make sure I'm like getting sleep. Of course, like sometimes life can get in the way, but generally speaking, like I'm gonna make sure I'm like well rested, which is good.
Oh,
Eating is actually kind of a weird one for me. It's because with like working out and like my metabolism and stuff, I have to like get like a certain amount of like food intake, and typically, from what I've noticed from personal experience as well as just like doing a little bit of research on it, you generally don't want to be you want to be like fed, but you don't want to be like too full going into a tournament. You want to like be kind of in the middle, and you just want to eat like small like nutritional things. But like for me, I have to like generally eat a lot of food like throughout the day in order to like meet my like my macros. And sometimes I can find myself being like kind of hungry if I'm just eating like a few like small things here and there. And but on like the other side, like if I eat something like of like a greater size, I'm kind of prone to like being like a little bit like slower, like sleepy. So what I try to do is I just like eat like a lot of like snacks. Like I'll usually eat like fruit, like protein bars, cereal bars, and stuff. But like even then, sometimes I'll find myself like being hungry. Like last Friday to Bendix I went to, like in the morning I was eating some fruit. I was eating like I had made like a PB and J, stuff like that.
mm-hmm.
I even brought like a snack. This thing I started doing because um just like bringing a snack in case I do get hungry. At previous rivals, the snack ended up helping me a lot. And then like even just like an hour later after having my snack, I was like, man, I was really hungry. Then I had to like go down to a vending machine and get a snack. Bracket already passed it this time, but like even when I was playing friendlies, I was like, oh man, I'm so hungry. So I was having a hard time like staying focused.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's kind of difficult, and sometimes I just like tough through it and just end up like eating a lot of food like after bracket.
Okay. So then, okay, so it kind of feeds into itself. It's like you want to be full, but not full, which that does make sense because yeah, I've heard lots of people say if they're too full, they're either like too tired and don't want to like do too much, and so or like maybe they just feel like you know bloated and almost a little, I won't say sick, but like just not too well, going into it. So yeah, protein bars, fruits, PB and J. That all sounds like good snacks there. That you would want to actually eat. But sometimes because of it, you're feeling hungry if you're eating just the small snacks, and if you said that if you run, so which normally leads into then that like it just eating these small snacks after brackets, you'll usually have big meals to compensate being hungry, um, kind of thing. Which
Yeah, and that's like usually the case.
yeah, which personally, it's like it could be good or bad depending on like what are your actual health goals too. But I can understand after bracketing, saving the meal like a big meal afterwards for like once it's finished. Um, so that was health, sleep. For sleep, how long would you normally say you usually get sleep?
Recently, I've been getting like 8 to 9 hours, which I mean that's really good.
Oh yeah, that's definitely pretty good. So I don't think there's any issue with that there for like sleeping and stuff. Um, let's see here. So, um, anything with exercising? Like, do you say like you exercise just like pretty regular? Like, let's say like you have for like your exercising schedule.
I mean I do like I've been doing like consistent like weight training over like the last handful of months. I mean, I do get like exercise in that regard. Typically I always go like late at night. It's like even on days where like let's say I'm coming back from South Bend and I get home, say anywhere from like 11 to 12 like our time,
Mm-hmm.
I'll end up like even going to the gym like really late. I don't know if like working out earlier like actually would have a tangible difference or not, but I was even thinking of supplementing something just like a small bit of like cardio even before doing like a bracket that could like help a little bit.
Okay. So exercising usually. So usually at night is when like you exercise. It's when you
Yeah,
exercise, which that might actually also benefit for like why like you also do like you sleep for 8 to 9 hours, because I've heard people who do exercise, they do like to say they'll do it in the evening, maybe sometimes night, because their body's tired, so it's going to naturally go to sleep after like a nice shower, a small meal, and then like you'll just instantly go to sleep and be like wanting to sleep for the full 8 to 9.
that's definitely the case for me. Like, the thing with my sleep though is I do tend to like toss and turn a lot, and, like wake up, and like when I go to bed like really tired, it does help. But generally with my waking up in the middle of the night, there's not too much I can do to control it. But I mean, I still say most days, like I'm not like I'm not immediately energized when I wake up. But if I'm given a little bit of time, I drink some water, I'm feeling pretty good. So I wouldn't say sleep is like too big of a problem on my end.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, I don't see any issues there with sleeping and stuff then. Let's see. So it sounds like health wise we kinda have like, good idea of what it is that we're wanting to do with all of that. Um so what about, so now let's move on to you know, practice. Like physically, like how does training mode look and how does friendlies kinda look like, before tournaments? Or like
So
both
this is
before.
where I probably
Yep.
yes, I was gonna say this is probably like the area where I most need to become like more committed to,
Okay.
because in regards to like practice, I've noticed that like I've done like one too many brackets where like I'll go into it and like I'll at best maybe play like one or two games of friendlies and I'll immediately go into bracket. And I've started thinking like, if I gave myself like a lot more time to just like, play beforehand, I would play a lot better. And whenever I go to other tournaments, like especially like South Bend, I just noticed that everyone's like already like grinding friendlies from the moment they get there. And typically like, be it because like I'm just busy like socializing or I'm just like not even putting time into playing. Of course, showing up late is also an issue, and I've been trying to make an effort to show up a bit earlier to when I go to these tournaments. But yeah, I just like not utilizing my time before the tournament to like really ensure I get warmed up. I always kind of like neglected the importance of doing that, and especially if like a tournament ends up getting seeded to where like I have to fight like a pretty like I have like an opponent I can't like sleep against for my
Mm-hmm.
round one through line and getting warmed up. I have to like go straight into the fire more or less. That's like that's definitely an issue.
Okay.
But at
Um.
least like as of like the last Bendix, I was kind of aware of that, and we kind of left a little bit earlier, and I was like playing some games with like Brett for a little bit, which was good.
Okay. That's awesome. That then. Oh, hey, Brett went to Was it this last index too?
Yeah, he went to last rivals in the last Bendix.
Oh
We
man.
even managed to get Keegan going, which is really cool.
Yeah, I know. He said he was trying to. He was wanting to actually come out to these last couple events too. So yeah, I'm glad that there was more of you guys that came out. Hopefully it was a good time for you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Sweet. So yeah, so kind of pre-day prep. We're kind of feeling like needs a little bit of work there. Um, how about also with? Let me scroll back up and take a look here. Uh, you know, training mode or friendlies kind of practice. How does that feel?
So typically, like throughout my week, and I recognize this is like problematic, and I've been trying to like think of ways I could remedy it. I don't like. There's been days where I'd say on average I do like one tournament a week, but there'll be times where it's like I'll play the game at the tournament and I don't touch the game until the next week at the next tournament, and like that definitely is gonna have an effect on like how I play for sure. I have been like more conscious of like making the most of my time after like brackets. Like the last two Bendix, like I ended up like grinding with Setter specifically for like a few hours after, and like I felt like I was just having a really good time playing with them. We were just having some really solid friendlies grind. But like throughout the week though, because I guess like I don't have, especially as of late, there hasn't been like as much accessibility to offline practice as I used to have,
Okay.
and I could be like feeling the side effects of that. And I do think we were mentioning training mode. I do think that I should probably be trying to utilize it more, even if it's just to keep my hands warm.
Okay. Oh, let me see instead. So weekly prep. Not touching the game much. Besides tourney day. Offline. Play lately. Okay. So, alright. So I guess when you do get the chance to play training mode or friendlies, like how does that normally go?
I mean, I generally am. I'm known as the person who doesn't mess around. I always like to go like mains and secondaries strictly. Like it was really funny. Like we were like playing like mains for a bit, and then like Brett like selected random. I'm like, oh bro, you ain't gonna do that to me. I'm like, nah, bro, we keep it serious. And he's like, all right, I got you. So I do, because I really do value the practice that I do get. Like I try to like keep it as much like serious as I can. Like not necessarily like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try my best to win no matter what. It's just like hey, I value my practice. I don't want to like goof around.
Right, I get that too. Um, yeah, so it's good that like you kind of take that initiative to try and keep it more focused on mains and secondaries if possible. Um, so that way you can be able to keep your practice that way. Because it's about
And I guess, oh
hmm
sorry, go ahead.
it basically because yeah, it both respects your time and their time too. Because maybe they are kind of they played maybe like couple friendlies with you, then maybe they are one to actually like just chill with like a not so serious friendly for a little bit. But you're at least keeping strong to like you're one to actually use as much as the time as you can, based on like however your schedule is to actually be able to play against this person. Which I think that's good on you for that part. Training mode practice. What was it you're about to say?
So I'd say the big elephant in the room, and like I've tried numerous times, but like the big elephant in the room for me is Wi-Fi. I I've come to the conclusion that like it's irrefutable that it's like the way to improve, but it's like there's just I can't have nearly as much enjoyment doing it as I would just like playing the game offline. Because I mean it is the same game, but it isn't at the same time, and I feel like it's almost a chore.
And the chore part of it is because of like the latency and everything with it, right?
Yeah, because like when I play it, like I just keep thinking like, oh man, if this was offline, I'd be able to do this, or like I only got that was only like I missed that punish because like it was the latency, like stuff like that. And like I find like just like the nature of it distracting me from like keeping keeping focus on what I could be in control of.
Okay. And then training mode felt that we could. And then training mode felt that. Or in it before I had forgot. That. So then the next one is like kind of mentally, like how do you feel like thinking like both during practicing and when outside of the game? Like are you feeling like you're thinking about like the game whenever you're trying to actually get specific things done in friendlies, thinking about like strategies, like just how does that go for you?
So like recently, I've been just like getting a lot more like aware of like what's going on. Like maybe not always just in the moment, but like after like playing a bit, I can kind of like notice some things in my gameplay and like start to find solutions with it easier. Like most recently, I know we talked about this in our first session, but it was like finding kills and whatnot. I kind of I found that recently there was like some things that I was neglecting, and that I had some like preconceived notions that were uh like limiting my ability to like find kills. Like I pretty recently I viewed like, oh no, I generally shouldn't be looking for like just raw smash attacks too much. Like I very much noticed that in my playstyle I'm just like very risk averse. So I was like, well, I mean, even though it's not something you just want to be throwing out for the heck of it, there
Right.
is still value in like, using it for a read, because finding those early kills is really beneficial, and getting a lead with my character is like really strong. So if I could like close up these stocks, it's really important. And yeah, like I said before, like I would seldom use them, period, just because I perceived them as something that was like just bad risk reward. And then I was like, oh well, to like prove myself wrong, because I was thinking, oh well, because I've even heard this advice from my peers. I'm like, oh no, they're full of it. Like this can't be something like good players of my character do. And then
Mhm.
I was like, all right, let's watch some good old MK Leo. And
Mhm.
then I'm seeing him like, oh my god, he's actually like sometimes going for this in like certain situations. So I'm like, oh, that I can't. That's the word of
Yeah.
God. I'm probably like wrong in my assumptions. So then I've been working on just like being more aware of situations where I should be committing to those kinds of things.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
yeah, now that I know that was like an issue, I was like, okay, so it's the next step. So it's like, okay, let's see when you know like Leo's doing this stuff, or like why is he committing to this? Like, is it working for him? So on and so forth. And then I've
Right.
just been trying to implement it in my friendlies, and dude, so far it's been like really effective,
Okay.
and it feels like really satisfying.
Okay. I like that. I think next to what is it, health, I think mentally thinking about the game, yeah, it's definitely like right up there with it. um but yeah, like you're saying, like seeing Leo doing doing like these maybe sometimes they're hard call out, like smash attacks and stuff like that. It's definitely interesting to kind of watch where it is in these situations he's putting himself to actually make them like good punishes. um So yeah, definitely think mentally and like health wise are like the things that you're already doing pretty good on. So it just need to be more like on practice. Um, so we can combine kind of everything that we've been talking about here before and make it into like a big chart. So we will just kind of chunk them down into these sections here. So that was health. This is practice. Well, let's warm ups. Here is. Then we'll just put it down there like that. So that's practice, and then mentally. Um. Oh, I guess going back with mentally, how do you feel like mentally like preparing for a tournament match? Like, is there certain things that you're looking, or like not tournaments match, but like before you get to a tournament, like what are things you're doing to mentally prepare yourself?
I guess like to prepare, I mean, aside from like the physical like health things, mentally, I'm like, hmm. I guess I kind of just like try to get myself like excited, like I'm here, let's play well, let's like put on some good matches, let's do it, or
Mm,
let's just try to like pump myself up, not like oh let's do this, yeah I'm gonna play some match, let's go. I'm just like all right, I'm here, let's play good, let's make it a good day, like stuff like that.
yeah, keeping
Just like
yourself positive.
yeah, really just that, and if I try to recently I've been more mindful of like trying to get a warm up, and then especially if I'm feeling like really like if I'm feeling good like about my warm up, I feel a lot more like confident going into my sets that day.
Okay, sweet there. Okay. Um, so I guess it's time. So I guess from what we said, what you've said before, I'll kind of add like my own kind of things on it too. So health wise, I don't think anything really needs to change from this. Like sleeping 8 to 9 hours, that's already like the all someone could really ask for you to actually be refreshed. So that way your body and your mind's doing good. Um, eating like being not too full, like I agree with that, and like in the snack ideas I also agree with it too. um Probably something to help sometimes feel hungry if eating just small snacks after practice. You'll usually have big meals. Something probably to help out with this, because I think eating the small snacks definitely does work. um I might say try and mess around with finding um try to mess around with finding like a slightly larger thing you can eat besides like say a PBJ. Like if a PBJ is like considered like like part of the snacks, maybe find like one slightly bigger thing, like say just a I'm trying to think of like examples. Like for me, for example, my big thing is that I would actually if like for working things like that, basically what I would do, because like I'm only there for like some days I'm only there for a few hours, I would just do a thing where like I would pack a just like a sandwich, a PBJ, or like a a ham sandwich, some fruits, basically what you have there. Like I would just kind of pack that, like just a small little bit of fruit, maybe a protein bar, and then after that I would just have like some water and like just a couple packs of fruit snacks, just to hold me over for like until like I eat a big meal like that. Since you're still feeling, since you're still kind of feeling hungry, like after eating like just those small snacks, I'd say try find something just a little larger, a
I'm
little
thinking what I could
larger.
probably try doing is eat like a larger breakfast, so like by the time so I will by the time like if I eat something larger earlier in the day, by the time it comes to play, which is typically gonna be like the afternoon, I won't still feel like slowed down by it. Because
Okay.
yeah, typically like when it comes to breakfast, I eat pretty light, so I think I can maybe experiment on like tournament days. I could try like eating something a little bit heavier in the morning and going from there.
Yeah. And then with it being like with it being like a few hour, like definitely a few hours away from like the tournament, by that time like you'll still be burning through that energy, but you're not going to be like completely full, um like you would be say like if you have when you're going to be at work from after eating that big meal. So yeah, trying to find something either a little larger to eat then or eat larger breakfast. I like that idea as well. The other thing, try anytime you feel hungry, try to drink some water. Cause I can tell you from experience how anytime that like I'm just chilling at home not feeling too well or something like that, like, and I hear like my stomach growling, I'll usually interpret that as, oh, I must be hungry. But then even after I eat the meal, I'm feeling even worse. So then I decided the next time I was just going to try, like, drink a cold cup of water. And then I suddenly found out it wasn't that I was hungry. I was getting slightly a little bit dehydrated. So sometimes you feeling hungry could just be, it might be your body just either wanting to tell you that you're dehydrated, or it might be something else going on in your body that water could actually solve easier than like eating.
Yeah, because like typically with tournaments, I do try to like drink a lot of water, but like I almost feel like I should be drinking like even more. So like I've started packing like a second water bottle to tournaments now, and like so far it's been like a pretty noticeable experience. Only downside is, man, I have to go to the bathroom a lot, but
Yeah, I feel that. Um, yeah, what might help fix with that is like trying to limit to maybe a cup of water every 45 minutes, like an hour, so like you're still getting it into your body, it's still being like going through the system, you're not drinking it as fast, and making your body feel like it needs to get rid of the excess like immediately, because you're only drinking like a cup at a time if possible.
because I
Mhm.
notoriously will just like go through my water like ridiculously fast, and I don't know like the specific science behind it, but I do feel like if I were to just like take small sips here and there, it would probably be more effective hydrating than just like drinking most of it at once.
Yeah, I think behind the science wise of it does take a while for water to actually get through all the body. So I'm imagining, like, if you're drinking like a bottle of water that's like two, maybe sometimes 3 cups of water, is just hitting your body immediately. That says like, okay, time to go. Whereas like those small little sips is just like, okay, we're feeling hydrated. We don't have to go to the restroom. This feels nice.
Yes, that's actually probably something I should think about.
Okay, try drinking some
Keep that
water.
in mind for sure.
And small increments it's like every 30 minute to 1 hour. And then I'll just add this on here as well, like 8 cups of water in general. I think for everyone it's different. Like actually, I've looked into it a bit. I think we need more than 8 cups, but like just as a starting basis, just to get someone into the idea, like at least starting to try and get 8 cups, and then look into the science and find out how many cups you actually need. Because for funny enough, I found out for guys like like our age, I think we need like close to 11 to 13 cups.
Dang, that's quite a lot.
Yeah, like that's what I thought too. It's like, so it's not just 8 cups. I think 8 cups is just like function pretty well and properly, and then like based on like different muscles in both genders, it's like girls would need less cups of water than us, like probably like 10, like close around this 8 cups, like probably 9 to 11 cups, and then us were like 11 to 13 or something along those lines, in order to like be fully functioning like on all cylinders. Um,
Yeah, because I love drinking water, but sometimes like I'll just get like distracted and like even forget to do it. Though in bracket, yeah, like I'd say I'm pretty mindful of it, but yeah, I do kind of just drink it too much, and
mhm.
I'll even sometimes leading up to brackets, I'll kind of like neglect my water intake prior, and I was just think, oh, if I just drink all my water at the tournament, I'll be good. But yeah, I don't think that's the case.
Okay. Let's see here. So that's good. Health wise, exercising, using at night when you exercise. I think that can stay the same, like just exercising at night. Because I don't know if one is better than the other. I think I know like it just seems like exercising at night you're more tired like afterwards, like you'll immediately go to sleep, which that's not a bad thing. That's usually pretty good. So I can basically say the same for that. Uh, so warm ups. So this is the big one that I think we kind of need to, anything doing with the game physically. Um, Warm ups in terms of like a consistent schedule. I think we need that it should be like a consistent schedule that does a little bit of training mode into friendlies on like a weekly basis. Training mode into friendlies on a weekly basis. So we could do something where like it could kind of go into like the things like in all the other sessions that like I say at the end of it, like just some ideas for training mode. Um, but like just a generic thing, we could do like 10 minutes. Well, like 5-10 minutes warming up in training modes daily. So that could be split up between like combo practice, movement. What else is there? Kind of just basically those. If we just leave it at that, just like movement, combo practice, kind of things for that. So that way, it's just going to keep constantly be rebuilt into you the more that you do it like once every day. After that, playing friendlies for at least like 30 minutes to an hour, something like that. Which then we add on kind of things that you already do with friendlies, which is think about what's going on like during them. Because I think you do that pretty well. Like when you're actually playing it, when you get into the friendlies and things like that, you're doing pretty well with that. It's probably just making this like a regular thing of like try to do 30 minutes to an hour playing friendlies, and then also adding the warm-ups onto it as well.
I definitely think just like it's simply just committing to playing the game more helps. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I feel like I get like my like a good amount of like VOD intake. Like I'll like watch VODs and like look for things a decent amount, but like at the end of the day, like I still need to I feel like I need to get my mileage out of playing the game a bit more, even if it's something just like as simple and accessible as like training mode. Because yeah, I definitely can spare a little bit of time each day to do that for sure.
I'm in the same boat too. With that basically, since I don't really play too much anymore. Is about to say it's basically a lot of if I ever do think about Smash, it's just like watching VODs or like doing like coaching sessions and things of that nature. So I'm not playing as much. Um, so I'll realize things, but like I just don't have the muscle memory to actually keep up with it. So I can relate in that department too for that.
And yeah, this whole thing that people say like, oh, how can you be a coach if you're not like a top player? But it's like, that you can know this stuff. It's just implementing. It's a whole different thing.
Yeah, it's a whole. I was about to say it's a whole different system to that. That's why there's people like. That's why like the gen. I won't like don't want to use like kind of like a war example, but like strategists like you have strategists who like can think of all these things because they have no pressure on them, but then when they're in the pressure of like a battle or something like that, they can't do it properly compared to someone who has the opposite issues. They're good at like those quick reaction kind of things that they need to do in the middle of a battle, but if they have to think about a strategy going into it, then they won't do as well because they don't practice that as much as a strategist does. So friendlies, thinking about the friendlies part, I think like we kind of already have that going there. So friendlies, think about things after friendlies. Do well. This is the part where we should have that. Play friendlies for at least 30 minutes to 1 hour. My mouse died. Okay, well I can use my touchpad. Um, but yeah, like friendlies, we just think about like playing friendlies for at least 30 minutes to 1 hour, thinking about what we think about things after friendlies, which is what you already do, which is good. Scrolling down a little further, if we move this info then, so what is this? Pre-day prep, so leading into bracket, weekly prep, we kind of already basically discovered that. Training mode, we kind of do cover this. Pre-day prep, I'll move down here, and then we'll cover into like do like the Wi-Fi part of like the elephant in the room. We'll talk about a little bit here, but it really sucks. But sometimes you may just have to actually go online just to even just play for like that 30 minutes to 1 hour. Um, doesn't mean it has to be elite. I'm like quick play. It could be like if you can be able to maybe schedule something with someone and actually like get like 30 minutes to an hour with someone like regularly online, that'd be nice. Or the other thing is you can even just like try and join maybe random lobbies instead of like doing random on quick play instead, because at least that would be a lot more consistent with the latency inside of an arena compared to like whatever happens in quick play just happens.
Yeah, typically more prolonged like sets, because then someone could just like play one game and quickly and just leave and whatnot. Yeah, because like historically, there's even been times where like I've hit up somebody in a grind server or like some other like players in my area and had like a Wi-Fi session, thinking like, man, that wasn't too bad. I think even me and you played Wi-Fi once, and I was like talking about how like it was pretty enjoyable. So I think like so of course, even while I don't enjoy it nearly as much as offline, there have been instances where when I'm actually like doing like a more organized form of online play, I tend to enjoy it more and actually to practice. So I think I might be letting my my feelings about like Wi-Fi in general and quote unquote like Wi-Fi players that you'll see. I'm kind of
Uh-huh.
letting that like ruin my whole perception of it. And like I've grown to accept that it's like really useful practice. I mean, look at like all the top level players that were like big Wi-Fi grinders. And yeah, I kind of just need to probably just seek out like arenas against like players that I have like respect for, and I know they're not just gonna like try to be like all like cheesy and goofy because it's Wi-Fi. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, that kind of fits into like what is it, like that fits into like I think the whole thing when people make like Wi-Fi crew, well, how it used to be. I think like when Wi-Fi crews were initially created, it's like, oh hey, this guy's pretty cool, I want them in my crew so we can play all the time and things like that. And then just becomes like a small little community based off that, compared to how I think some like more modern Wi-Fi crews are, where they want to just make a crew just to like be cool and things like that, instead of wanting to do it because like these are people that have like the same values that want to you know play. I won't say play the same way that I want to play, but like at least we'll play like in a way that will allow me to actually get more practice.
Yeah, that's actually sounds like really cool. That vision. It's just it's just like it's kind of similar to how I feel with like my relationship with like the other NWI guys. Like we're all like trying to just get better. So like we go to tournaments together and like we talk about the game and stuff. It's just with everyone's like busy lives and stuff, it's difficult to like actually like meet up and play offline regularly.
Yeah, yeah, I get that for sure for that. But it seems like anytime that you can do it, it definitely sounds like a good time. And it shows it whenever you guys show up to tournaments too. So try to focus sometimes where it's organized and fun. So playing with friends. Some other things that might help out with that is like doing voice chat, because You may not real. That's about to say. I think that's about to say. You can let me know if this sounds right, but does it ever feel like when, because like you're at home and like you're just kind of like chilling, like playing online and stuff. You're not even thinking like it's another person on the other side.
Yeah, I guess like on those dark days where I decided to play quick play, it definitely feels like that. And like I usually like villainize them because like I openly don't respect a lot of those types of players
Mm-hmm.
if I'm being real. But when I've done like more organized things, like if I've found someone in a grind server, like I usually um I usually sometimes even take initiative and like ask some questions after.
Okay.
And then like I've had a few instances where we've had like a pretty good discussion and like he like the guy would be like, oh, I noticed this, and then I can kind of talk on that. Now, and on the same thing, I could be like, oh, I was noticing you were doing this, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're basically like basically working together to make each other better in that regard. So like you're knowing that it's another person that's also trying to improve too in that portion. Um, I think we kind of forget that sometimes because of like when it's just quick play, there's no voice chat or anything, which can be good and bad for some like obvious reasons. Um, like we're just kind of basically kind of like alone, just like playing against this other person who we don't know what they're basically doing. They're basically just playing elite, um, and they could be taking it seriously. You can tell by their play style, or maybe they're not taking it seriously, and you can't even ask them because like you can't voice chat with them or you can't text them. Um, so it kind of dehumanizes them. Whereas if with voice chats and text chats, like you're knowing that it is someone else because they're chatting back at you or they're doing voice chats and things. Maybe they won't say something nice, but at least you know it's another person.
Like,
Um, so I think that if you try and make them more organized and fun that way, it'll probably help you not feel too bad about playing online. That might get you a little bit more motivated doing those things. Uh,
I definitely agree with that. Like, as I was saying earlier, like I'm pretty sure I probably just let like the worst of like what Wi-Fi is affect my opinion on it overall, and it's kind of like leading into me to not wanting to like actually put the time into it when there's just so much to gain from playing it. Even if it's like going to be less quality practice than it would be like playing offline, like just getting practice in general is very important, especially when like I'm not getting enough practice in general.
yeah, it's better. It's about to say it's better to have some practice than none. So I agree with you there. Um, let's see, leading into big brackets. So pre-prep days, you feel only 1 to 2 friendlies, and feel being late has affected this a little bit. So what I can kind of offer for this is who normally when you guys go like and drive out here, who's normally the one that's driving and things.
So usually it's either myself or Buff Mac.
Okay. Um, so it's either so that's perfect then. Because what I was going to suggest is kind of like with friendlies and things like that. Uh, well, where are usually the things that like keep you from running late? Like, what are some of the things that usually happen with that?
I mean, sometimes it's like I guess like it really depends. Like sometimes there'd be like someone coming off of work or like just you know, oh, I had something to do up until this time. But historically, like I've noticed even when I was going, I was like leaving a little bit late and then showing up like before tournament starts. And the last 2 times I drove down to South Bend, I consulted everyone, was like, hey, maybe we could show up a little bit earlier. And then yeah, it ended up being like a lot more time to like set up and warm up and stuff.
Okay. I'm glad it's not like kind of small things where like oh I overslept and kind of those things like that where like you're kind of waiting on someone else because of those versus
That was That was part way to the case with Keegan last week, but it wasn't that bad.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to say, like, the things, since, like, trying to actually not be, like, come early as much as possible is trying to make sure that you're also trying to see if you can make sure that you're the one that is leading the carpool or the one that's driving, which it sounds like that's what you're already doing. Um, the other thing is like for things that aren't like work of that nature, or maybe even sometimes if it is for like something like that, but like they it's kind of like pushing like the time for it. Sometimes you just have to be a little strict and just say like say if it was like a sleeping incident or like someone was off doing something and they decided not to actually communicate that with you. Sometimes to prove a point you just have to tell them, hey, we gotta go, I'm sorry, but I want to go and do go early so I can get proper practice and stuff, and you're not, as well, say I'm not letting you sabotage that for me.
I definitely get that, and like I guess that's like a last resort thing too. So
Right.
like I feel maybe if I'm like getting more consistent practice throughout the week, like the warm up won't be like it'll still be important, but it won't like completely make or break me. I think why warm ups are so important to me in my current like way of operating is just that I'm not like regularly getting practice throughout the week, so I genuinely do need that time to like warm my hands up and like get in the right mindset of playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that by fixing one problem, it makes the other one a lot more manageable as well.
You gotta go. Um, what is it? Pre-day things. Other things with pre-day is still committing to your like your warm-ups in training mode. So like at least trying to advocate like trying to get there either that or right before you're leaving, like try to, I usually say like when you're there, so that way it will actually be warm-ups, like trying to still at least get those 5 to 10 minutes on your own warming up or something like that. So if you're able to like say you have your own small little adapter set up, just practicing off to the side for like 5 to 10 minutes to keep yourself warmed, should be able to help out with that.
That's true. And one thing I did, I made sure I did before the last Bendix was like, all right, before I go about doing stuff in the day, let's do like training mode for like a handful of time. Just like before I ended up leaving to drive everyone.
Friendlies and more warm ups and friendlies. Making sure you're driving. Okay. So that's all I kind of have to add on with like leading into big brackets. Um, then reviewing, I think this one you kind of have a good handle on already too. But like just obviously see if you can, if you have a VOD, make like I guess we won't say like make a day, but like maybe a day or two after a tourney, you devote like some time to like VOD analysis. So that way it's still fresh in your mind, and you keep it as a regularly scheduled thing too, because then that way that'll be maybe your focus that will repeat back into your friendlies. Then if you review that, see what's some good things or bad things that you need to actually improve on, and take it into training mode to warm up with them, go into friendlies, and then go into bracket and see how it works, and then just repeat that cycle.
So in general, like in the past, like before I like learned how like to operate it, like back in the day, I was like, man, how the heck do I like review a VOD until I've learned to kind of just like really like scrutinizing and like getting down to like this really like specifics like helps that a lot. Because I used to just go into it's like, oh, what's going on here and try to like look at stuff. And then I wasn't really finding answers, but then when I started to like hone in on specific things, like let's just say like the thing with like finding kills and whatnot, I was able to see a lot more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, also just I guess I got better at looking at my own VODs by looking at just like higher level VODs as well, and I was just like applying similar ideas.
Yeah, it just takes a little bit of time getting into it. It's also a little bit hard initially because like you're not really wanting to actually look back at like you losing a match. Like that's never a good thing to actually go and look back at.
Yeah, I mean, I'm able to like get over that like pretty easily, but like yeah, no, I know what you're saying though.
Hmm. Um, let's see here. Is there any another thing that I thought about that I didn't have listed down is a section for tools. And what as well as what tools basically is wrong one. These things you'll use to help keep track of all of this info. So, for example, keeping a copy of your tourney prep or things you are learning on your phone. And then if it's basically that's all this is, like keeping a copy of it on your phone, so like a Google Doc, and then pull it out and just follow it. This is especially good like in
Like
Yep, go ahead.
oh yeah, I was just saying like yeah, with like the schedule, like when I was kind of like working on a little bit of like my routine, I had like a few things written down on like my phone's notes, and I was like, okay, and it was almost like a to-do list almost, and it helped me follow it a lot easier. But like also like taking like information about like what I'm trying to practice to could be good. Like I have an idea of what I'm working on. I've tried like limiting myself to like a few more specific things, and it's been effective. But I think even just like saying like, all right, I'm gonna be playing some friendlies today. Let me write down what I'm gonna be working on. It would like help me like stay like focused on that, help retention.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you can. Um, let's see here. Keeping a copy of your training prep or things. It's I was about to say it's good that you actually have that already have that the idea like on your phone there. So we're both thinking about that same idea of just keeping that something you can pull out and just look at real quick. Um, so pull out and just follow it. So all it just needs to be is just like needs to be like kind of habit wise of like every time that like for example in the friendly you're focusing on like a specific thing. So after every match, you pull your phone out, you look at your phone and just say like, oh, is this it's about to say did I do this or like this? It's like okay, I didn't do this. Why didn't I do this? Um, just so that way it breaks up the momentum of like what normally happens is like you play a friendly, like the match ends, you immediately go to character select screen, choose your characters, you go to the next match, and there's no like discussion or anything really besides just like maybe one to two like a sentence or two against each other that doesn't really bring up a discussion really.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So even if it's just like after like a short amount of games, like say you play like 3 matches, and it'll be like, okay, let me think back on this.
Oh no,
Yeah, because
I honestly say after every single one, because you want to get into the habit of doing this constantly. Because it would be safe to say like after 3 maybe I can actually do, or I guess to start out like try to do it like after every three. That'd be nice to start out, but I'd say like it gets to the point where like you want to do it like after every match, so that way you know for sure you are keeping yourself honest on what it is you're wanting to practice.
And you're not getting distracted. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's definitely something I could start doing. So like, let's say next like tournament I go to, and I'm like gonna have like a friendly session with somebody. I'll just be like, okay, so I'm working on this, and then after every single match, I can just pull up my phone, be like, okay, I'm working on this, like as a reminder, or if I have like a quick thought, I can like write it down, whatnot. Okay. Yeah, because I've like tried like actively thinking on it, and I've had like some success, but I think just like having that constant just reminder in front of you can make sure that you're like completely honed in on that.
Mm-hmm. Another way that we can add on to that is calendar reminders or timer. Um, it's things that I kind of use too. That I kind of use that has helped me. It's like if I need to, if I need to actually get up, stretch or something like that, I'll set it up for like every hour I'll get up, stretch because I've either been sitting for a while or not been doing much, and get some water.
So even just reminders to like check like your health and whatnot.
Yep. Um, Cam, who I'm not sure if you know Cam, he what he does in his stream is that he has like a what is it? I think like with bits and stuff like that, people can put bits for like donations, and one of the bit donation things is it's just it sends a reminder to him to say like check your water levels, to remind him he needs to drink water or check your posture.
Yeah, like the posture check and the hydrate. Yeah. By Cam, you're talking about Tharpy, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I know him.
Yeah, so he has those in there too, which kind of inspired me with that idea of like trying to keep a either calendar so it tells me okay today is because there's some days where I forget which day it is sometimes since I have really done too much in between them. So like if I was ever practicing something and it's um like say a specific day I try to make sure to get more practice with someone than usual, like 2 to 3 hours of like playing friendlies instead of just like 30 minutes to an hour. I may forget which day that is, but then my phone goes off. I'm like, what's my phone doing? And then it says like friendlies longer sessions. Like, oh, okay. Yeah, today I'm supposed to be playing, such and such, but I'm playing a longer time than just like 30 minutes.
I definitely makes sense.
So check for water. Routine. Other tools for that. Those are kind of the two biggest tools I think you would need. This other one that I was thinking of was mainly health wise, but which I can probably suggest it anyway, but like, just health apps that, help keep track of like nutrition of like the meals that you eat. I'm trying to think of the app that I have, but like it's what the app does is like I put in it has a pretty good idea of like all types of foods out there, and you can even customize like make custom meals in there, so that way you already have if there's something you always eat every day but it's like it's pretty healthy, you can just put that in as a custom meal and it'll tell you the calories and stuff for it, so you won't have to re-enter every single thing. But yeah, it'll help you keep track of calories and even tell you how your other nutrients is doing that day. Like if you're too high on like sugar or you're too high on something else, try to make sure that you limit what it is of that you eat possibly.
Yeah, those apps can definitely be useful. I've tried like ones with like water intake, but I kind of just like brushed it off. So I think something like that could definitely come in handy again. And like, yeah, just like having that like reminder in front of you is definitely useful because like we're as human we're so easily like distracted. So just having like something just pop up that like forces you to acknowledge it, like it's definitely good.
Yeah, something that like what was it I was about to say? Yeah, having something that like pops on your phone and won't let you go past until like you either put a puzzle or something, like do some work to get the notification off of there, and then it'll maybe make you remind you more that you need to actually do it if you have to put that much effort to get rid of the notification there for it.
That's pretty interesting. I didn't know there was stuff like that.
I do it with my alarm whenever I wake up. Like there's a puzzle, like it's not really a hard puzzle. I wish it was a little harder, but like at least I can't just like press dismiss. I have to like solve like this small little like four square puzzle of like lowest to highest number. And that puts a little more effort on my mind to actually wake up, and then I'll actually get up more because of it.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna steal that. That's really cool. Cool.
Mm, well, I think the full turning prep, it's it's kind of basically just going to, without writing it out, it's kind of just basically going to come down to just doing what we do health wise regularly. When it comes to warm ups and friendlies, oh, let me go back into leading into bracket. Because I think this one, the other thing that I forgot to say here and add on to it is leading into big brackets, focusing on like I'm for like when I say like specific matchups, or like focusing on specific matchups, I'm thinking of like days where like the bracket is available early, so that way you can be able to take a look at it, just see, oh okay, I'm going to be playing against such and such. They play this character. Have I played them before? If not, just think back to the questions that we had above of like, what are kind of things that are good or bad about the character and of that nature, so you mentally get yourself prepared for it.
Because like sometimes like going into like a set, like if I know someone plays a certain character, I try to like remind myself of a few things going into it.
Mm-hmm.
Like one thing I've seen, I don't know, it might have been even Keegan, but some player I was talking to a while ago straight up said that how they had like a bunch of like notes for like specific matchups. Like so, like let's say, oh, I'm fighting Mario, so we'll have like a little bit of like a few like sentences just talking about how they should approach like playing a Mario player. That's
Uh-huh.
something like I'm generally a decently like avid note taker, but like I haven't put in the effort to do something like matchup specific yet. So I think something like that could be beneficial to really help out with that.
Mm-mm-mm. I could maybe send probably a couple videos on that, like just for like um that kind of helps with that, because they're more just like questions that you just ask, like that you can always ask for each one, and then you can just jot it down for every specific character, like the ranges they like to play in and of that nature, what's their kill confirms, just like these kind of things that you have to be wary of for honestly any character. So yeah, I can
Yeah,
go ahead and do
definitely.
that.
Yeah, that'd
Mm-hmm.
be cool.
Um, but yeah, so now after adding that in, I think how the full tourney prep will probably look for you is just like health wise, kind of doing the same things that we've done that you're doing already, just with like snacks and things like like feeling don't want to feel too full at tournaments. Probably just I like the idea that you said of like adding like just eating a little larger breakfast, so that way you're a little more full and your body will eat off of that until like the tourney, so that'll help with like you just enjoying maybe smaller snacks and stuff, and also deciding to drink a little more water if you are feeling hungry, because maybe that might help your stomach not feel too bad about not having food inside of it. Warm ups and friendly. So warm ups is just getting yourself to consistently every day be in training mode and just work on something for like at least 5 to 10 minutes. Can be
Yeah.
longer, but like at least starting with that. Um, Friendlies is kind of already good as it is, but like friendlies, we're wanting to actually add on the. Let's go up there. So friendlies, just trying to actually make sure that we get a good amount of practice of 30 minutes to an hour. We're already thinking about things to do like with friendlies, but adding on to it, we want to actually think, just try to do this like mentally think about like what's going on during the like after the friendly, like after every single one, but at least starting with like after every two or three, something so that way you get into consistent practice. Uh, and then yeah, with Wi-Fi, try and see if we can actually get that, um, be more comfortable with it. So like creating that environment. And then yeah, adding on like tools to kind of help keeping track of the turning prep and looking back at like what you need to actually do, and just basically doing like your own little investigation into matches, like if you know what you're playing, and then reviewing, having a day dedicated to that, like a day or two after the tourney, to like review like your VODs. So that sounds like a pretty
To
good
really
schedule for
enjoy it.
me. What about you?
Yeah, no, I really like this. Like, it feels like, at least in regards to like the health stuff, it's a lot of the stuff I kind of devised like already. But even just like when we talk through it, there's a few other things I added onto it that I can start implementing. And yeah, especially with like the practice too. Like, it's like it's obvious that oh, if I want to get better, I should practice more. But like, it's so easy to like just like neglect it. And I feel if I, like I said, if I like keep this doc like close at hand on my phone and like make it really accessible, it'll, and especially once I start doing it for like after like 30 days or so, it becomes a habit. It'll be like very very like easy to notice like how big of a difference it's making in my play and just my ability to like learn and whatnot.
Uh huh.
So yeah, I'm honestly really really excited to start like putting this stuff to use.
I'm happy to hear that. I'm hoping that I could probably try and condense this down, like to be like, um, more like just you like reader friendly, so that way maybe you can be able to just look at that, or even just like even simple it down even more for you, just so that way you can be able to just keep it like just on one screen, so you can just pull up a photo and just say like, oh okay, so these are my bullet points, like these are things I need to actually be doing regularly. um well, that kind of goes through what we were wanting to actually talk about for today. um it's especially we kind of went over, so like I'm not too sure if like there's too much time left for reviewing. I mean, I'm down to do that for a little bit if you want, though.
I mean, I think I'm honestly okay. I do have some obligations I gotta take care of, but I could honestly, because we talked over like most of it. That was just like a if we had extra time, we can sort of tackle it. But honestly, if I get free time, I could just always DM you some like questions, and we could just like text back and forth at like our leisure regarding
Okay.
that stuff. But yeah, honestly, like we tackled like the biggest things I was looking at with like the mentality and like the prep, and yeah, I'm feeling like a lot more like positive about it overall, and I really want to start like working on these things because like I know if I do this like consistently, like I'm gonna get better at the game, and it's good. It's like how I like feel about the gym. It's like if you go, you know you're gonna end up like you're gonna see the results. You know you're gonna feel better. It's just once you get over that initial hurdle and you start doing it, you're gonna see the results, which is really nice.
Yep. And it's going to be something that's going to be very easy to notice too, once it gets back into, as you said, once it gets into like a rhythm of it.
Yeah, and I'll definitely I'll honestly like try to post updates too to like like keep myself like accountable as well because I don't want to just like say I'm gonna do all this and then you hit me up say hey how's this going, I'm like oh so about that. Yeah, I want to like actually like hold myself accountable and try to make this like this is a serious part of my routine if I'm looking to like take the game seriously and improve further.
Hey, I was about to say I get it. Just try and start small, like where you can. Like the stuff you already do, it sounds like it's good. So just, you know, once we get it simplified, just try and start with like one section and just like improve it, and, like to be consistent. So like we said maybe doing warm ups and like it is like probably the biggest thing. So just maybe start with that since that's the one we feel needs to be done regularly. And then after that, maybe move over to like the health section, and then after that, move over to like you know adding the tools in, so that way it'll help you remind you to actually like do those things.
But yeah, um, definitely a lot to look at here, and I also really want to check out those videos too.
Oh, yep.
Like,
I'll
cause
go ahead. Yep.
like low key, like educational fighting game content, like that's good eating for me. I love that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yep. I'm the same way too with it. So yeah, I'll go ahead and just I'll probably just send those your way while I work on the doc here.
Alright, man, sounds good.
Okay. Well, any last questions or remarks or anything, or?
Uh, this is like off topic, but is when's the next is next Saturday or like this Saturday Rivals or Kick It Back?
This next week, this is going to be, uh, or this upcoming week, I mean, this is going to be a Rivals week. Our
Okay,
next Kick It Back is probably, suppose I think we have it scheduled as like the last week of, what is it, July, since we do them bi-monthly now.
bi-monthly now. Okay,
Yep, so it'll be like either the last week, like last week or second to last week, and then the next one after that will be, um, what is it? Next month is July, so in September, and I'll just be whichever week is available then.
okay, yeah. I was just wondering. Yeah, I'll probably try to make it out to Rivals this upcoming week. So yeah, that should be good. All
Okay.
right, yeah. Other than that, man, I really do appreciate the time. Like seriously, it does mean a lot.
Hey, no problem. I was about to say, I'm glad, this is helping out for you. So anytime that you feel up to it, it's like just hit for like, another session, or you just have like quick questions, yeah. Just go ahead and just send them my way.
Sure, man. I do appreciate it,
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, you have yourself a good night.
bro. I'll talk to you later.
Yep, later.